Hello and welcome back to the operating ward. Today we are going to be working on brake calipers. And this one is a twin piston. This is out of a 1989 Ford F250 with a Dana 44 front end. And these twin pistons are a little tricky. There's plenty of videos out on YouTube about these single piston calipers. This is the one off of that Dana 44 front axle that are pulled off of that 85 F150 from the salvage yard, which that axle is all over the place back here. But we're going to take a look at what it's going to take to rebuild these pistons, because these are actually going to get used on the Franken-Truck project, which is my 86 F150 sitting out there, which is the two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive conversion. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, and I'm going to wind up doing this all one-handed because I don't have a camera stand. It broke. So I'm going to remove this banjo bolt. This is what holds the brake line, the soft line, onto the caliper. So we're going to remove that because we're going to need that removed. I stuck this shop towel in there to keep these brake pads separated out. And these brake pads actually look like they're in pretty good shape, but I did replace them. These are the original calipers off of old Floyd, which is my single cab F250. That is not this truck here. This is Green and Nasty. This is my 89 F250 extended cab with the Dana 50 front end. I'm pretty sure the brakes are the same. So we're going to go ahead and start getting this apart. So I'm going to keep these pads separated, and I'm going to flip it over. And first thing I need to do is, push that down and off to the side, and that'll remove this anti-rattle spring or anti-rattle clip, and we'll just catalog that over there. That's fine. And then we're going to take this pad and we're going to move it up against the other one, just like this. And that's the reason why these spaces right here are provided on the opposite side, is for rebuilding purposes. So you can take your C-clamp and you can stick one right there. Being that this is a twin piston, I'm going to use two C-clamps as opposed to using one at center, because I want to keep even pressure on both these pistons. It ain't going to do much good if one piston pops out and all that air is escaping from that valley and this one's still lodged in place. That don't do no good. You want to keep even pressure on both sides and release them as evenly as possible. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I did not tighten up these C-clamps before I decided to start doing this. And doing this one-handed without a cameraman sucks. But you do what you got to do. I'm not sure how good the quality is on this. I'm doing this on my phone. Okay, just hold on a minute. I need two hands. Let me give you a little something to look at and something to hear. So there we go. Now the C-clamps don't have to be real tight. You're basically just stopping the piston. Alright, make sure your bleeder valve is still in place, because that is going to prevent air from seriously escaping. So you don't want to remove that just yet. Key goal is to get these pistons out. So grab my friend, Mr. Air. Find that. And once again, one-handed, I'm going to go ahead and just loosen both these clamps just a smidge. And I'm blowing out a little bit more brake fluid. Should have tightened up. Loosen them up just a little bit more. This would work better if I had a cameraman. It'd go a little faster too. So I'm turning these basically just a quarter to a half a turn at a time. Let's see if I can find this far side. I'm going to loosen it up just a smidge more. I'm going to go ahead and reapply. There it is. Some more air. I'm basically just working with one side. It seems to be a little on the stuck side. There, now it seemed to have broken loose a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and loosen this side up just a fractamanon of more. And reapply some more air. Just like that. Re-loosen these up just a smidge more, hopefully without falling completely off. Stay put. Okay, now that other side is pretty loose, but as you can tell, they are coming out, which is good. That's what we want. That one there, one closest to came out a bit more. So I'm going to continue loosening. Now I'm going almost 3/4 to 1. So I'm going to see if I can get you guys propped in a manner in which you guys can see and I can work. So let's see if I can rig up something here real quick. So hold on, I'm going to go ahead and pause this. I'm just going to go ahead and get these pistons mostly out. Okay, I decided to come up with something a little bit more funner. It's a little more dangerous, but it should be entertaining. We're taking the C-clamps off. We're just going to leave the pads in place. I'm not reusing those pads, so let's see what happens. I'm going to try and lean myself back as far as possible. I think both of them popped. I do believe they did. They both popped. Now here's the challenge. I'm trying to get the brake pads out. So we're going to flip this back over. There's one brake pad. There's the other brake pad. There's one piston. It's a little chewed up on the edges. It's got a nice big gouge in it right there. I can feel that. Ooh, schmutz. Yummy. Okay, we got schmutz. That's good. It's an old caliper. It's dirty. Still got plenty of fluid in it. So let's check this other piston. That one's actually nice and smooth. That one could probably be reused. But I've got all new pistons, so I'm going to use those. Alright. Next thing to do is get these old dust boots out, and you are not going to reuse these, trust me. If you're working with old calipers, a rebuild kit is incredibly cheap. Comes with new dust boots, new O-ring, everything you're going to need. So we're just going to expertly catalog that. That one's out. Now down inside the bore, or bores I should say, is going to be an O-ring. That guy right there. This is what is known as a square cut ring, because it is, even though it's shaped like an O, it's completely squared. It is not round on these edges. It is squared. And that is actually designed on purpose, because this not only seals the piston inside the bore and keeps fluid from escaping past the piston, but it also acts as a return spring. So as the piston's going through, let's see if I can get you to focus, this is going to start lipping over, and then once you release the brake pedal, it's going to lip back and it's going to pull that piston back a little bit, ultimately releasing your brakes and allowing your vehicle to continue rolling. This one's not in bad shape, but I've got a replacement, so we're just going to go ahead and expertly catalog that. We'll get in here. Started losing grip on my camera. Take that one out. Now there's only one more part left, and before you do that, let's see if I can get into some light here. Those bores look pretty good, but you definitely want to clean all that schmutz out. So we are going to go ahead and get rid of all that schmutz. So there is one more component on here you want to get rid of. Bleeder valve. And more than half the time, if these haven't been serviced in a long time, which these ones haven't, these are going to be jammed in there pretty tight. But there is a way to fix that. First, once you've completely rounded it off, which I've already done here, keep you on the project. Wrong drawer. Grab some tools. Alright, you grab hold of this conglomeration. That's way too loose. Tighten up a lot. Get a good, firm, steady grip. I don't think these are going to grip properly. Okay. And normally, if you're loosening, you'll actually want to have these on just like that. Okay, I know I just tightened the crap out of it. And the sun's coming out. Alright, so you tighten those on, nice and tight, just like that. Then you grab yourself the trusty BFH, and that's not a BFH. That's a BFH. So you grab your trusty BFH, and then you grab your trusty little handheld propane torch, and you heat the crap out of this area right here, right around that bleeder screw. You get that nice and hot, but not too hot. This stuff is pretty brittle. But get it nice and hot, shoot it with a little penetrating oil, and then apply a little blunt force trauma. Just like that. Generally with the pliers still on it, you can then go ahead and work this off. And if you're lucky, you will not have damaged any of the threads. No damaged threads. So we'll go ahead and expertly catalog that. So now everything's back in there as far as possible. And the sun's coming out, which is creating a really bad glare. I can't see my screen! So now, this brake caliper is ready to be dunked, dipped, cleaned 4 ways from Friday, another 2 ways on Tuesday, and then thoroughly dried and ready for paint. Alright, now you see how bad this caliper is. That is just one big massive rust. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside. And hey, there's a toolbox there. Remember, close the drawers on the toolbox. You won't run into them. And this is the other side. This side I've already gone ahead and pre-done. It's completely stripped. It's been de-rusted. Completely cleaned, dried. I will probably go ahead and blow out all the schmutz, any dust or debris, because I disassembled this one quite some time ago. So I just shot the rubber tip off of this. Cool! And if you're wondering why you haven't heard my air compressor kick on now, or at least by now, no, I'm not running a 60-gallon industrial-sized air compressor. I have these. That's 2 Harbor Freight Special 3-gallon mini air compressors rated at 100 psi each. And then, of course, 2 11-gallon air hogs, so I got 28 gallons of compressed air and about 110 psi, because I've got the regulators completely shut off on those, so they're going full bore. And everything is tethered together, so I have air. What is supplying the power for these? I'm running an extension cord all the way outside on a 3-way heavy duty all the way to the back of the truck to my little tailgater generator. And I tell you what, that little generator is an awesome generator. It's not only running both these air compressors right now, well, they're not running, but it'll run both these air compressors and it'll work that light right there. Off of that plug right there. Both the air compressors and that light are plugged in right to that. In fact, let's see if these will go ahead and kick over. Yep, they're both running. But that's too much noise. So, back to the caliper at hand. So we're going to set this aside. Piston. Piston. So hold on, I got to dig out all the new parts so that I can show you the new parts. I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back, and the parts are laid out. So, for a complete rebuild, what you're going to need is a master rebuild kit. This comes with your dust boots and your square cut O-rings for the inside of the bore. Now, this is Brake Best O'Reilly Auto Parts part number 41065 for the twin piston brake calipers. And this is for the heavy duty model. You're also going to need a new set of bleeder screws. So this is part number H as in hotel 9400-2. And then of course, if you want to replace your pistons, this is a brand new piston. It's slightly different in design overall, but it should do the trick. We're going to find out. But this is Brake Best O'Reilly parts number 7538, and it's made in Canada, eh? Good job on them Canadians, eh? We're going to see how well this works. So this has obviously been prepped. One of the other things you're also going to need is a bottle of brake fluid. You're going to want to lubricate the rings and the piston when installing them. Do not use anything other than brake fluid, .3 brake fluid, or whatever your manufacturer calls for. Most vehicles use .3, but do not use anything other than .3 brake fluid to put these calipers back together. You will destroy your brake system, particularly the calipers, if you use anything other than .3 brake fluid. Alright, I am not going to go into the particulars on that. If you want to use something else, that is on you, but you can't say the doctor did not warn you, because I'm warning you right now. Use something other than .3 brake fluid to lubricate the pistons and the rings for installation. Bad things are going to happen. So we're going to go ahead and set those aside because we won't need those until later. And I'm just going to go ahead and get a little hole started there. Hopefully I cut a hole into it. If I didn't, bad doctor. Didn't bring a good enough scalpel. I am approaching 22 minutes on this video. And I find that I am only good for about 30 minutes roughly on this phone for some reason. So this might be 2 parts. So let's see what all comes in this kit. So there is the dust boot, and that is the square cut seal. Nice, shiny, brand new. We like that. We like shiny stuff. I'm going to set that aside. There's nothing else in there. Alrighty. Nice, shiny, new dust boot. Sure there's nothing hidden away in there. That's the other dust boot. Which means in here, I don't know what those are for. Those were not obviously in the calipers when I took them out, so I'm thinking that might be for a bit of a different application. So we'll just go ahead and set the parts we need aside, and we'll go ahead and just expertly catalog that over there because we won't need it. There we go. So rubber ring. Now there's going to be here in the bore 2 notches. This lower notch is for that ring. The upper notch here is for the dust boot. So we're just going to go ahead and install this new ring. Nice, smooth fit all the way around. No kinking, no bunching. That is good. I like that. I like it when things go together really well. So now there's a little trick to these dust boots. So what we need to do, and the pistons come in little Ziploc baggies that are easily 3 times the size of what the piston actually is. So I don't know why they do that. So the trick to this is install the boot. I'm doing this one-handed, so cut me some slack here. Hold on, I might have an idea. Set you guys down here like that, and I can use both hands. This is a bit of a juggling match. Juggle, struggle, whichever. Now, don't tear the boot. Okay. The boot. Is on the piston. Now this is the top of the piston. This ring here on the boot is going to sit up in here, but not right now. We need to get this lip here inside the piston bore of the caliper. So we're going to try and do that right now. You know what? That little stand idea worked out so well. This goes to show the good doctor's preparation for surgery. Set some more of these parts aside and move this over here. Let's see if I can balance you guys on here. Okay, hold on. Okay, we're approaching 26 minutes, so you're looking down in that bore. We're just going to grab a little bit of brake fluid here and just dump a little bit of that in there. Yeah, a little bit more. I'm going to be able to get my finger wet. Get this bore nice and wet. Just like that. Keep you guys in frame here. And we're just going to take a little bit of that fluid and we're going to wipe it onto this piston. And we're going to take this and we're going to go ahead and get it slipped into that, into its new home. These can be a little tricky. By the way, when I say a little tricky, that's a major understatement. These are very tricky. Come on, get in there. Okay, this is where going over to Plan D goes. I'm going to go ahead and just slip this into its home because I just hit the 29-minute mark on this, so I'm going to be getting ready to shut this off and restart another video so we can do part 2. Get in there. Okay, I got one side. Just about ready to hit the 30-minute mark. So I'm going to go ahead and shut you guys off. We're going to start another video and turn it into part 2.